Hello everybody, Kelly Rice here, but I write under my pen name KM Rice, and welcome to my author vlog. I want to start off by saying I'm very excited that Ophelia Afterworld Book 1 is coming out in just a month. The release date is May 18th, 2018. Funny how that works, 1818. Didn't plan it, just picked a random Friday that I thought I could actually... I picked a random Friday that, I know that sounds really unprofessional of me, but that I thought I could probably actually publish by this day. So I've been scrambling, getting all my ducks in a row, and you guys have been fantastic, my wildling warriors. You know who you are. You're my street team. You guys have your advanced readers copies, which you've been reading for a couple weeks now, and getting your reviews ready, and I'm excited for launch day. For those of you who don't know what Afterworld is, it's my new book series, and you can check out the teaser trailer here on my channel. I don't know why I just did that, because I'm not going to insert like some sort of like flashing thing or whatever. I don't know, I find that annoying. If you know me, I don't do that kind of stuff. I find it very distracting, just like my tangent right now is somewhat distracting. But yes, I'm excited for it. And I'm also going to be having a book launch party. It will be in a community space in the town of Felton, California, on a space called the Redwood Deck, and the books will be sold just a few feet away in a shop called Baron Hook Boutique, and it's run by my fabulous friend Julie, and we're going to be having a little bit of sort of a tea party, because there's a Victorian element to Ophelia. I won't give away any spoilers, but there's a definite Victorian element and a strong strain of tea throughout the book, so... Go figure. I'm being very California right now with my chai. Still kind of hot, so I gotta be careful with that one. But yes, so I've got my book launch coming up, my book launch party coming up. Very excited. Now, to really trip you out for my regular viewers, if you're watching this, it looks like I'm here in California, but I'm actually in Ireland. I'm going to be traveling for the next 3 weeks, so I have filmed these vlog episodes ahead of time and am scheduling them to post. So while you're going to be seeing content from the Emerald Isle, you're also going to be getting these, and yeah, it might be trippy to be like, wow, she has the same setup in Ireland as she does in California. Well, I don't. It's just, I'm a time traveler. If you guys read my book, you'd get it. So, today, I would like to discuss book reviews. As an independent author, book reviews are the most helpful thing you can do for me. Actually, there's two. You can recommend my books to other readers, and obviously buy them yourselves. But writing a book review is a way to recommend my work to other readers, and it gives, the more reviews you have, I mean, this sort of goes without saying, we've all shopped online before, at least most of us have. If you're watching this video, you're tech savvy enough to have shopped online. And the more reviews a product has, the more good reviews a product has, obviously, the more it seems like a safe bet. Books are so subjective. Stories in general are so subjective. I personally have never looked up a book and read reviews unless it is nonfiction. If it's nonfiction and I want to see, is this actually going to the level of depth that I want out of the subject, then I'll just glance and I'll see if people are like, no, this is for beginners, then that might not be what I'm looking for. But when it comes to storytelling, I'm not the type of person who looks at reviews. I read the blurb on the back, I check out the book, and often I'm going off of recommendations from friends, or something's caught my eye, or maybe I'll flip to a random page in the book and I'll start reading it. That's usually how I find I choose what I read. It just sounds interesting and enticing, and that's what pulls me in. But there are a lot of people out there who are such bookworms that they're far more selective, and they will be looking at these reviews. So if you're posting reviews, and especially if they're nice reviews or good reviews, you know, I would say 4 stars and up. 3.5 is kind of like, that's kind of like getting a C, which isn't as bad as an F, but you know, it lowers your overall star average. So if they're good reviews, that can really, really help you. Now, as you know, I'm an independent author. That means I am doing all of this myself. For this new book release, I have my street team, the Wildling Warriors, who are doing whatever they can to help me, which is amazing and awesome, and it feels so good to not be alone. And that said, the most valuable thing that they have to offer is their reviews, because, like I said, I'm an indie, I'm alone, I don't have a big publishing house with me, I don't have connections in the book publishing world, I don't have someone reaching out and, to some big name authors to put blurbs on the back. I don't have anything like that. So what I'm relying on is basically internet word of mouth, for lack of a better way to put it. And word of mouth will start by people posting reviews of, gee, I really like this book. Because let's face it, we do live in the age of self-publishing, and not all self-published works are up to the standard that we would expect from a published work. We can have, if a kid knows how to do it, then a kid can upload their book that maybe isn't the most polished version of their manuscript. And I'm of two minds about that, because number one, I'm like, that is amazing. That is awesome. This young person has published. I think that's very cool. On the other hand, it is hard because now it means that the market is inundated. A lot of people will tell you that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's never a bad thing to have more stories in the world and more out there. I love that. And I love having those choices and having more voices be heard, because if I've never gone on a rant about this before in my vlog, I don't think, but it's in my Patreon pitch video. As an indie, I do not have to answer to anyone, and that means content police. I can write about any subject matter in any genre and about characters of whom I choose, rather than those who are policed based on what's popular right now, what's trending, gee, they're not white enough, or they're not straight enough, or they're not, whatever enough. I was told, I think I have mentioned this, the first book that I ever tried to get published has a female heroine, and it's a middle grade to young adult novel. And I was told that having a female protagonist is considered a risk, and there's only so many risks a publisher will take with a given work. Of course, there's tons of work that defies this logic and these rules, but I'm just going off of what I've been told, and I think it's utter BS. So I'm getting impassioned here. What I obviously love about the indie world is there is no one policing my content other than myself. So if I want to write about girls going on adventures, I can write about girls going on adventures. That said, going back to the subject, sorry, this is a little bit meandering. Your reviews are incredibly helpful to me. Now, I think a lot of people go on Goodreads and maybe they've read one of my books or a book by another independent author, and they don't realize that if they're leaving a negative review, that is potentially negatively affecting that person's livelihood. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I certainly have gotten negative reviews myself before, and I read them all. I know some authors hide from their reviews. I'm excited to read reviews, and if people don't like it, I just think, I wonder why they didn't like it. And, you have to get to that point where you have tough enough skin that these things do not affect you in your daily life. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but I'm at a point in my sort of development as an author where I'm okay with it. I'm saying that knowing that may all fly out the window once Ophelia is published, because it is so near and dear to my heart. I might not be able to hold myself to my own standards of my, I want to say metaphysical, but my emotional armor towards reviews. But just be aware, as a reader and as a reviewer, that especially if a book is independently published, if you really didn't like it or had a visceral reaction, of course you're entitled to your opinion. Just know that when you are posting it and voicing that reaction and giving it that 1 star, that you're potentially affecting someone's life based on the entertainment you consumed. I know it's weird. We live in a weird world these days, man. On the flip side, you can really help bolster someone's career whose writing you appreciate or enjoy. Or even if you're like, well, it's not quite up to my standards, but I really like the momentum, I like where this is going, and I want to see, know, what more this person has to offer. So that's another way to look at it. Now, I have a lot of very loyal readers and friends who love to support me in my work, and I'm so thankful for that. However, a lot of those people have come to me and been like, oh, yeah, reviews, I know they're important. Sorry I never wrote one for Darkling or The Watcher, or especially coming up, I'm getting nervous about it because my book is about to launch. And for those of you who do not know, Amazon, if you're publishing through Amazon, they've got this funny little thing. If you get 20 to 25 reviews, they will start advertising your book to other potentially interested customers. If you reach around 50 to 75, that's when they actually start including you in newsletters sent to those potential customers. So reviews are very important in terms of engaging free marketing, basically, from your platform. Of course, you can do your own marketing on your own, and you should, but those are the magic numbers, and that's why a lot of authors you find will be pushing, like, please review. So, how do you write a review? What even is a book review? I will say that I did not look this up before I started filming. I didn't want to come into this with a dictionary definition. You know, if you watch my vlog, you know that I'm not one of those authors who says, this is how you do it, and you have bullet points and that sort of thing. I write by the seat of my pants, live my life by the seat of my pants. I'm supposedly a Virgo. I don't know how that works out. So, what do you do? But I thought that if I were to write a book review, because I learned how to write book reviews for editorials in grad school. That's a whole different ballgame. What we're talking about is a customer book review. And that is purely based on your appreciation of the story and the writing and the entertainment value. So, I'm just saying I sympathize, guys. I don't, and I'm a hypocrite, because I don't find that I read very often I do read. I read almost every night, but I'm not often picking up other indies' work and devouring it and then putting up a review. I'm bad that way, and that's something that I would like to fix, and that's something that I need to maybe not fly by the seat of my pants on in my life and carve out more time to dedicate to my fellow indies. I tend to, when I do have time to read, I tend to gravitate towards the classics and towards nonfiction, because I find that helps fuel my my imagination, gets the muses dancing in the moonlight. But, so, other than me prefacing this that I'm a hypocrite, I do sympathize with you in that I would be hard-pressed to write reviews. So, what I thought I would do is come up with a series of questions. It turns out I have 9. And prompt you with them, for lack of, I'm overusing that phrase for lack of a better word, or expression. I'm all over the place today, guys, I apologize. Yes, so I have a list of questions that I think it would be beneficial for you to listen to, and I'm going to paste them in the video description. And when you are writing a review, now remember, you can write a review that is 1 sentence long. You don't have to write a paragraph. But if you want to, authors love that. And I think other potential readers love that. But again, it can just be, I loved this book. But I thought that I would list out a series of questions just to help you start thinking about what it is that you've read. Because in general, we are not, I went to school and studied this stuff, but most people, we're not trained to give an editorial opinion or even to necessarily analyze our entertainment. So through these questions, I thought you can either answer all of them, or you could pick 2 or 3 or just 1 and let it, and through the process of trying to answer this question, see what comes out of you. So the first question, why did you decide to give this book a chance or read it? I came up with that question because I've seen this in a lot of reviews, is people maybe know me from my other web series, Happy Hobbit, and they say, oh, I know her as Keely from Happy Hobbit, and I wanted to check out what her writing was like, so that's why I decided to pick up this book. Or the cover art really fascinated me, or the description really caught my attention. And I've seen that in reviews before of my own work, and I always found that That's a nice touch. Okay, number 2. What about the story hooked you or made you want to keep reading? I think that's important too, because, you know, you have to be careful when answering these questions because of course you don't want to put out spoilers. My books seem to be, to date, heavily based on, I want to say spoilers, but I'll say plot points and twists that if I were reading it and if I knew that going in, I'd be like, I didn't want to know that yet. I wanted to find it out as the story unfolded. So always, always, always be careful of your spoilers. And I think that's why people have some trouble writing reviews, is how do you talk about it without talking about it? That's a skill in of itself. So what about the story hooked you / made you want to keep reading? You could say, okay, let's choose an example of the Hunger Games. I could answer that with Katniss's relationship with her little sister really struck home to me, and I just had to know what was going to happen. Was she going to make it back to her little sister? See, that doesn't give too much away, but it gives you enough to say, like, oh, okay, there's, you know, maybe someone reading the review will be like, well, I have a little sister too, or I've always sympathized with characters like that, and it might catch someone's attention. Number 3, how would you describe the tone, atmosphere, or writing style? That's something that I've also observed in people's reviews of Darkling. They like to mention that, yes, it has these elements of horror, but there's an overall sense of hope. You know, things like that to try to convey to readers the texture of the story. Number 4, without spoilers, how would you describe the story? People have blown me away with Darkling, because if you've read Darkling, the last sentence of the first chapter is a potential massive twist. It was when I wrote it. Some people have read it and been like, no, I saw that coming, Kelly. And I'm like, I thought it was cool. But if you're like me and you didn't know it was coming, well, I guess I knew it was coming when I wrote it. But if you're a reader who didn't know it was coming, then having that spoiled for you in a review, then you go and you read it and you're like, okay, that line felt really flat. Oh, it's because I already had that information from a review. So just be careful of how you describe things. But I've been really, really impressed with your reviews of Darkling and how you've been able to explain the conflict without getting into too many details. Like, it's about a young woman who is trying to bring light back to her world that has fallen into shadow. And that's not giving anything away, and it's giving just enough information. So kudos to you people. See, all of this I've learned from you guys. That's why I love doing this vlog. That's why I really love being an independent author and being able to interact with my readers, because it is such a back and forth. And that's how life should be. Okay, number 5. Was there a character, storyline, or situation that really gripped you or that you could relate to? That one I kind of don't really need to elaborate on. But, you know, there is a strain of grief in Darkling. I'll use Darkling as an example again. And I have had people recognize that and recognize that in themselves, and that was an aspect that drew them to the story. 6. What are your thoughts on the protagonist? So maybe you're stuck and you can't answer any of these questions, and then you realize, okay, we'll go back to Hunger Games. Or Harry Potter. Let's do Harry Potter, because that maybe more people have read Harry Potter. And you would think, what drew me to Harry? Well, I felt so bad for this child who was alone and abused, and then finally found out that he was magic and he was going to this magic school, and who came along to guide him? Hagrid, this friendly, bumbling giant. And I just really felt for him, and then the more I found out about how he was orphaned and how he was going to make his way in this world, I was just really rooting for him. You know, that sort of thing. Again, some of these questions you might find you're giving the same answers to them, so again, just use them to let your own creative juices start flowing as you write your review. Okay, number 7. This is the one that I feel is the most important. At least as an author, this is the feedback I most enjoy reading, and I think that ultimately this is what stories are about. How did this story make you feel? Happy, sad, full of tension, some people have left these wonderful comments, like, I started reading Darkling thinking I'd just stop in a little bit, and then I had to pee and I was starving and hours had gone by and I didn't put it down. You know, that's amazing feedback as an author. And I think that if I were cruising along the internet and came across a review like that, I'd be like, this sounds like a really gripping story. I'd want to check that out. So yes, I think that how the story makes you feel is by far the most important element, because that is why we read. That's why we watch films. That's why we look at art. We want it to evoke something deep inside us. We want it to stir our soul. We want to feel something. If you guys know, I'm obsessed with John Keats and Percy Shelley. I love the Romantics. And I am a romantic and a transcendentalist in the sense that I do relish the scope of human emotion, and we journey into fantastical realms and fiction to feel things that we might not be feeling in our daily lives. Sometimes those things are emotions that we're very thankful we're not feeling. Grief, sadness, terror. Other times they're things that maybe we're longing for, like love, romance, adventure. And we vicariously experience it through these characters. And ultimately, that is why stories are the greatest escape. I should do a vlog on this sometime, because I have a theory that it's not just engaging your imagination. I have a theory building off of Young in The Hero's Tale that that you're actually engaging a far more ancient part of your being, a far loftier part of your being, and that stories are potentially one of the only things in this world to truly transcend our parameters, to truly transcend our identities and our existence, and that's spiritual in many ways. Talk about a tangent. Alright. You guys like my tangents, though, admit it. You like my little asides. I don't think you'd still be watching if I, but you know I'm not one of those people who's like, here's my graphic, here's how you write a story, and I mean, I did print this out. I was giving myself a pat on the back for thinking I had enough to print this out, but I think you guys enjoy this sort of fireside chat feel. At least I hope you do, because some of you are still watching, and I really enjoy just being able to wax poetical with my fellow writers and readers and artists and creatives, and hear your feedback. And that way it does feel more like a conversation, and less like I'm talking into this weird little circular lens that I have to keep reminding myself to stare at, rather than my picture on the view screen. Again, life's weird. Alright, number 8. How did the book leave you? Satisfied, wanting more, excited for the next book? I think that's always a good sign. If I were perusing number 1 in a series, if people are like, oh my god, I can't wait for the next book, I'd be like, maybe I'll buy that one, but maybe I'll buy it later, closer to when the next one comes out, so that I don't have to wait. Haha. Alright, number 9. The final question. To whom would you recommend this book? I found this especially pertinent to Darkling because it's young adult, and I think it's really helpful for maybe the adults who've read it to say, I would give this to a kid this age and up, or I wouldn't, or if your kid has read this, then I think it's a comparable title to that. So I think for when you're assessing age groups, that can be really important, but also it can be important to when, if we're just a group of adults and you're like, I want all my friends to read this so that we can talk about it. That, again, is another sign of a great book. So, I've given you some questions, I've given you some things to think about. If you have happened to read some K.M. Rice work and you haven't reviewed it, now you can use me as a guinea pig, and you could maybe write some brief reviews, or long reviews if you want to, and put them up. But where do you put them up? You could not only use them in a post on your social media, because that's 2 birds with 1 stone, which is an ugly expression. I won't go into it. But then you are not only helping get the word out about me to other potential readers, but you're sharing your thoughts. But also, the two main sites where you should be posting your reviews are Amazon, because that's the biggest bookseller, and Goodreads, because Goodreads is a website where bookworms gather. And I think that Goodreads itself generates a lot of sales. No money is exchanging hands through Goodreads, but it's a good it's like a book lover social media platform, and so that's where people can hear about new titles and share their thoughts on them. So, I hope that is useful to you folks. This episode has been weird because I've almost felt like a teacher. You know, I've got my little printout and I'm like telling you guys things. But as with all of my advice, take what suits you and leave the rest and burn me in effigy. I don't know, whatever. Whatever floats your boat, man. The thing I'm going to sign off with is over there, so I'm going to have to lunge. Okay, so if you did not know, my head is getting cut off. My new book is set in Santa Cruz, California. Here is a publication from Santa Cruz. And I wanted to sign off with this because I thought you would find it amusing to those of you who do not live in a state where cannabis is legal to see the type of advertising we now have. So, to me, it really amuses me that since January 1st, I'll be flipping through something and there's all these competing ads for weed. And it's always nice to, you know, see what they come up with, because they're being creative as well. This isn't for pot, but, you know, gives you a flavor of the community. Yoga. I am very excited to share my city of Santa Cruz with you all through Ophelia. I think you're going to have a fun time visiting virtually. So, from me and Santa Cruz, wish you a very fond farewell. Happy review writing, guys. And as always, if you like this vlog and you've got $12 to spare over the course of a year, you can hop to my Patreon and support it for $1 a month. And if you find you want more from me, you can, oh, actually, yes, that reminds me. For $5 you get your monthly madness, which is just me being like my weird self, way weirder than this, because I'm trying to control myself in front of the camera here. Like, I put on makeup, I'm trying to look nice. Like, I have a low-cut top on right now, you know, I'm trying to look nice. The rest of the time, like, the monthly madness stuff, I might be, like, last month I was in a onesie, like, doing weird stuff and no makeup and whatever, just living my life. I don't know how all this stuff gets caught on film, thank God for my sister. But the $10 tier is called Scribblings, and that's where I let you see some of my more private writing and stuff that I'm working on. And this month of April is your opportunity to read the prologue of Ophelia. So if you haven't signed up yet, and let this be the thing that pushes you over the envelope, because the book doesn't release until May 18th, and this is your chance to check it out early. So please consider that. And yeah, again, if you're watching this, it's strange because I'm in Ireland, but I hope you guys are all doing great. Sorry for this long lead out, but all my best. See you, folks.